Every gardener who has struggled with heavy clay soil knows the frustration. You plant, water and wait, but the ground resists life. Roots can't push through, water sits on top, and crops fail to thrive. Many give up, thinking clay can never change. But history and soil science both tell us that clay can be revived if it's given the right organic feed. And one of the most overlooked yet powerful solutions comes from something we walk over every day: grass clippings. What if the very waste from mowing your lawn could become the key to transforming hard clay into rich black soil? We decided to test it, track it week by week, and add one powerful secret ingredient that accelerates the process. The results were faster than even seasoned gardeners expected. Let's break down exactly what happened and how you can replicate it in your own garden. So, fresh grass clippings are loaded with nitrogen, sugars, and moisture, making them honestly one of the most microbe-friendly materials you can feed into the soil. Left alone, they rot really quickly, producing heat and drawing in fungal threads and bacterial colonies. Unlike dried leaves or straw, grass breaks down in just a matter of weeks, releasing soluble nutrients directly into the surrounding soil. For clay, this is actually critical. Clay is dense and compacted, often starved of air pockets. But as grass decomposes, it forces microbial activity and worm tunneling, breaking apart those heavy particles and replacing them with pore spaces that allow roots to breathe. However, rotting grass alone can create slimy mats if applied too thick. To avoid this, we balanced it with a secret ingredient: powdered charcoal, also known as biochar. Adding biochar to grass accelerates black soil formation because it captures nutrients, holds moisture, and gives microbes permanent housing. This combination really mimics natural soil building seen in old-world farming methods like terra preta in the Amazon. So, with rotten grass as the base and biochar as the accelerator, we set up a test plot on stubborn clay ground. The initial stage is about heat and microbial invasion. We applied grass clippings in a layer about 4 inches thick directly over bare clay. For every 5 buckets of clippings, we dusted in about 1 bucket of fine biochar. A quick watering helped start microbial action. Within a few days, the grass began to mat and heat up, just like a compost pile. At this stage, the smell is sharp and the surface slimy, but underneath, fungi are already lacing through the layers. By the end of the second week, the clay below showed the first signs of change. Pressing a trowel into the ground was slightly easier than before. The surface began to darken, not yet black, but streaked with browns and patches of organic matter working in. Earthworms had not arrived yet, but tiny soil beetles and ants were exploring the warm surface, which is honestly a good sign of activity. This stage was where transformation became obvious. By week 4, the sliminess of the grass had given way to crumbly, darker material. The biochar had locked in much of the nitrogen that would otherwise escape as ammonia, keeping the soil beneath fed rather than depleted. By week 6, we could push a small garden fork into the clay more easily. The soil had pockets of looseness where water seeped instead of pooling. Worms began to arrive, drawn to the softened, organic-rich zones. If you were to test this at home, you would notice a distinct, earthy smell replacing the earlier sour odor. The combination of microbial growth and worm activity marked the beginning of humus formation, the exact black, stable material gardeners aim for. The grass was no longer visible as blades. It had become the base for black soil crumbs to form. This was the true turning point. By the end of 2 months, the test plot soil had shifted color significantly. Instead of gray or pale clay, it held black streaks, soft clods, and visible worm castings. Biochar flecks could be seen embedded in the soil, now coated with microbe colonies. At this stage, the roots of test seedlings planted into the edge of the plot pushed through without curling back or stunting. Moisture retention improved dramatically, watering soaked in instead of running off. By month 3, the once impenetrable clay was visibly crumbly to a depth of several inches. What had been sterile, compact ground now held living soil structure. For a gardener, this honestly means the difference between fighting the ground and just letting it work for you. To replicate this process in your own garden, start by mowing and collecting fresh grass clippings. Spread them in layers no thicker than 4 inches directly over clay areas you want to improve. For every 5 parts of clippings, mix in 1 part fine biochar. If you don't have biochar, you can make it by charring hardwood branches in a fire pit and crushing them down. Always pre-soak biochar in compost tea, diluted urine, or even water with a handful of soil to inoculate it before use. Once laid, water the mixture to start decomposition. Avoid turning it over. The key is letting the microbes work naturally with clay. If done in spring, by late summer you'll already have soil you can plant into. For larger plots, repeat the process in strips, planting cover crops like clover on the transformed sections while working on new ones. Over time, this rotation builds an entire field of black soil. Traditional compost, requires turning, balancing greens and browns, and then, well, months of waiting. Many gardeners just lose motivation or end up with piles that never really finish. The rotten grass trick, though, skips the pile and delivers nutrients directly where they're needed, right into the soil itself. Clay doesn't just need organic matter on top, it actually needs it pushed through its dense particles. As grass rots in place, worms and microbes, they do the mixing for you. The biochar addition prevents the nitrogen burn or slimy mess that raw grass can create while, accelerating the humus formation process. In short, this method saves labor while speeding results, making it ideal for gardeners with poor soil and limited time. One cycle of this method transforms the top few inches of clay within about 3 months. But repeating it twice a year, once in spring and once in fall, compounds the effect. After 2 or 3 cycles, you no longer see clay at all in the worked zones. Instead, you have deep, rich, black soil that holds water, resists drought, and feeds plants naturally. The biochar remains permanently in the soil, continuing to store nutrients and provide microbial habitat. The grass clippings are free and endlessly renewable, turning a problem waste into a soil-making powerhouse. This is why tracking the transformation matters. Once you see results in weeks rather than years, you know it's worth continuing. The rotten grass trick, supercharged with biochar, really proves that even the toughest clay can be revived with minimal effort. In just weeks, compacted ground loosens, worms arrive, and black soil begins to form. Tracked over months, the results honestly speak for themselves. Grass clippings and a bit of charcoal can succeed where tilling, fertilizers, and frustration fail. This is not just theory, it's a proven method rooted in natural processes and old-world soil wisdom. If you're ready to bring life back to your clay soil, try this experiment yourself and see the transformation unfold in stages. For more guides that combine history, soil science, and practical gardening, make sure to subscribe to Soil and Plant Doctor and share this video with fellow growers who want their land to thrive. The soil revival starts now, and it begins right under your feet.